Hi everyone, welcome to Zero to Somewhere. It's been a year. When I first started this, I was doing this every week. Then it stopped to being every month, and now it's fallen to being every year. Um, I think there's not a lot that happens every month to make this kind of thing very interesting, but for a year, I think there's a bit more interesting stuff. So I think from now on, I will try to do this every year. So I have a whole bunch of notes right here, and I'm gonna try to walk through it about everything that happened in the last year, 2024, which marks the 2 years that I've been doing this, which is crazy to me that it's been so long. A lot has happened, but also it feels like not a lot has happened. So let's dive into it. So, in terms of results, or rather, like what I did last year, I managed to get the right enough posts to make it 42 posts on the site now. I think when I started last year, it was 18, so it is somewhere around 30 posts, maybe a bit less. Most of these posts came from a post series that I started about state management in React. And each of those posts took me a lot of time, a lot more time than I expected it to take. So that's why it ended up being not so many posts, I guess. The results of this, it's hard to see from day to day. I have a small counter on my table that shows the number of visitors that come to the site every day, and also shows me the stats for every month. So looking at that, it seems, or maybe I've also gotten kind of immune because I know when I started it was zero, and right now I have something around 150, 180 people every day, which is when compared to zero, that's quite amazing, I guess. Last year there was almost 50,000 visitors to the site for the entire year, and that's amazing. And especially when I look at it and I see visitors from every part of the world coming to the site, it's really cool. And it's really fun just seeing like links to the blog pop up on blogs and newsletters that are in different languages. It's really cool. I think one of the big highlights of last year was that one of my posts was picked up by a YouTuber, Theo. He made a quite a long video about one of my blog posts, which is really fascinating for me to watch. Just seeing someone react to it. These are all the positives, but as with every positive, there are also the negatives. And I think the first one is that I'm still not making money off of any of this stuff. My plan from the beginning was to like write a book or a course. I've been saying this every single edition, I think, and it's still the same thing I'm saying 2 years in. It's just I keep pushing it back because I'm unsure of what topic I should make the book or course about. But now that I've finished that series of posts, I have a much better idea on what I need to write about, or rather, like what I want to make the book or course about. So hopefully I can get back to it this year. So that's one negative. The second one is just my health is not doing well. I have been really struggling to cope with the stress of all of this, and it's on. I didn't expect this. I didn't think that out of all the things I would face, this would be my biggest problem. But somehow, it's really hard to just keep stress out of the equation, and I feel like I've completely lost the ability to relax. Like it's not possible anymore. The same is about like balancing my work or just um, finding a pace that works for me, because I think I somehow end up doing more than I should, and that is why I end up in this state. The downside of all of this chronic stress is that I have been catching all sorts of nasty diseases and shit like chicken pox. Really not fun stuff to have. Jumping ahead to some of the lessons I've learned last year, one of the big ones I think is just I spent a lot of time thinking about why I'm doing this in the first place. Originally, as I've said in like the earlier editions of this vlog, The plan was simple. It's just to build something and sell it. I think it sounds simple, but the reality is building anything takes a lot of time, and keeping yourself motivated through that time, it's hard. The conclusion I came to is what I would like this to be about is just building friendly software. For me, what that means is um, it's software that is easy to build and easy for users to use. Most software, or even let's go a bit more specific, most web apps or front ends, they are horrible to work on, and they are also horrible to use. Like for users, it's not nice. It either crashes a lot, has a lot of bugs, or it's just extremely hard to figure out how it works. And on the developer side, it's just a lot of spaghetti code, really hard to figure out what it does, how it works, and really hard to just keep it running. It's so so this is like a lot of pain I see when it comes to software and when it comes to specifically front ends. And this is kind of, I guess, the area I want to focus on to try and improve things a little bit. And it's also maybe my solution to surviving the AI wave, or the wave of LLMs that has been taking over the world by storm since, what was it, 2 years ago? Is it? Yeah, I guess it has been 2 years now since ChatGPT came on the scene and kind of, you know, completely took the world by storm. So it's changing, I think, the area of web development and software development a lot. Um, it, and I think this way, like this focus, is something that would help me survive it, because even LLMs would stuck at making good software, I think, or stuck at making friendly software that is easy to maintain and easy to use. The other lesson learned is just that some people will not like my work no matter how hard I try, and no matter how hard I try, some of my work will be misunderstood. So this lesson comes from one of my posts that I think did the best out of everything I've done so far. It's gone everywhere. It's been featured in, I think, 6 or 7 newsletters. It for me, it's a small, it's a maybe unusual metric, but when I posted it, it went to the top of the subreddit, even higher than a major announcement for React. I put it in the React subreddit, so it ranked higher than a React 19 announcement for maybe, I don't know, maybe just the hour. But I really love that that I was able to create something that people thought was good enough to go up there. But at the same time, the comments I got on it were very hard to read. Um, I think I'm very overly sensitive to negative feedback. So when I got those comments, I immediately got defensive. I was trying to defend myself. I was trying to justify what I wrote, and I realize that it doesn't matter. Like, no matter how hard I try, my work or whatever I make will be misunderstood and it will be criticized. In the future, I think when any of my work, I put it online and I get some criticism, or I get some comments regarding it, my future plan is to just listen, always listen, because I do know that from all these comments that I did do a few things wrong. Like a lot of some of the statements I made in the post were not quite right and can be misleading. So it was very genuinely useful to have these comments so that I could adjust and change. So definitely the first part of any of this online feedback critique is to listen and adjust as possible. But the second part is just accept that I will not be able to make everyone happy and just leave it at that. The next thing is, of course, coming back to the health side of things, which is I need to find a way to slow down. It's really easy to end up working more than you should when you are self employed, because you have no guardrail. When you're working on a team, there's always something, or for a company, there's always something that slows you down. You either need some feedback from someone, you needed to wait for something to be approved. So that slows you down, and there's also other people to carry the weight of whatever you are doing. So you can always like shed the responsibility elsewhere. You can be like, oh, someone else will take care of it, or you can be like, nope, not my problem. But when you're working on your own, you have to do everything. The only solution I can come up with this is to intentionally do less than I can, just so I can keep myself afloat. Because I do know that if I keep going at the pace I am, I would probably not survive, or I would have even worse health issues, which is not where I want to be. The other thing I learned last year is about unreasonable effort. And this is quite hard for me to explain, so I will just stick to my notes quite a lot to try and explain this. So, what I kind of realized is building great products is just about putting unreasonable amount of effort into small things, into small details. Because it's the details that make something great, I think. Because you could just build something quite easily, but then it's all of the tweaking, all of the polishing, all of the effort spent on small details that will make it really amazing. And so far, I haven't actually done that, if I'm honest. I've just approached product dev as just get it done and that's it, or just build it fast and that's it. But I think for something to be really amazing, it has a lot of time and care has to be spent into just ironing out all of the bumps, just making it as polished as possible, putting in an unreasonable amount of effort into making it great. So for anything I build in the future, I would try to spend a lot of time just really, really polishing it and not just shipping, like just getting the MVP done and calling it a day. But to do that requires a lot of effort, again, an unreasonable amount of effort. And if I'm honest, right now, I am not in the state of mind to be putting that effort onto anything. I don't have an idea that I feel so strongly about that I would be willing to spend so much time on. I think I would probably pause until I come across something I feel really strongly about. But what I do feel strongly about is the core of front end undefined, the basically building friendly software. So that I think will be my focus. So that is what I will spend most of my time on in the coming year. That was my plan for this year originally, but all of that is kind of out of the window right now, because of what I also found out last year when I went to Sri Lanka. For me, going back to Sri Lanka is going to see family, visiting my parents. And when I saw them and when I spent some time with them, I also found a lot of worrying things, which is basically that my parents are gonna need a lot of help. One of which is moving to a different place. The second of which is handling all of the business there, because my dad has a business that he's been running for the last, I think, 10 or 12 years now. And it's gotten to the point where he can't do that anymore. There's a lot of things that need to be done there, just things I have never done in my life so far. Things around real estate, around selling stuff, about buying new stuff, about transferring ownership, about renovations, about registering businesses, all of which are a completely new thing to me. One thing I didn't mention so far is that one of the other things that I have to do there is to figure out something to do with the house that my parents are staying in. In summary, my parents live in a historical home. It's the family. It will turn 100 years old next year, and it is the place where my dad grew up with his huge family. The easy solution is to sell it, and I am tempted to do that. But at the same time, I know that if I do that, most probably whoever buys it will just tear it down, and that piece of history actually will just be lost to everyone. And I don't want that to happen. So I want to figure out something that I can use the property for, because if I just leave it, it's going to fall apart. Everything falls apart faster in Sri Lanka because nature is turned up to 110% maybe or 200% even, and everything is alive and everything wants to take over. Like nature wants to take everything back just much faster because of the tropical climate. So it needs constant maintenance and constant care. I have some ideas, and one of which is turning it into an accommodation property of sorts, a hotel, simply maybe. But this is again more out of my comfort zone. All of this is rather unexpectedly is going to be the focus for this year for me. And yeah, I think my biggest focus for this year is just to survive and just to take things as slow as I can. This is really bad timing because just as the momentum for Front End Undefined and all of the stuff I've been doing on the blog has been building up, I have to put it all aside and go halfway across the world to do something I've never done before. But I guess that is life. So, yeah, that will be my plan for 2025. Let's see if I survive until 2026.